Attention, attention. All units report to your favorite podcast stat. This is That's So RN, where we decode the chaos, call out the cracks, and care a little louder. Let's scrub in.
Oh my goodness. Hi guys. Welcome back to another episode and a new season of That's So RN. I'm your host, Lolo, and today we will be getting into unions, unionization, debunking myths, all those good things. I feel like this is so important as of right now because as of today, there have been several places striking, several places trying to create unions and just really use their voices and their powers to kind of advocate not only for themselves, but for their patients. This is a great intro to this season, which is called Resisting and Reforming. It's based around all those things that so many people speak about, but that's all it is. They don't really make a game plan or have an action plan or act on that. So I'm really excited to talk about that with you guys today. So firstly, for anyone that does not know and is watching, a union is a labor organization. With unions, we have them in several places. A lot of places do not have unions. A union is who most people think of when we hear about strikes. It's not necessarily the striking process itself, but the union is who helps kind of facilitate the process, getting you the resources, bargaining for you. It's not just somewhere where you go to vent or to complain about things. They actually help you sit down, see what's wrong, make a game plan, and kind of go from there. A union can be used in hospital settings, clinics, pretty much any healthcare corporation. And with unions, you can negotiate just about anything. Your pay, ratios, breaks, the amount of breaks you get, the amount of time the breaks are, relief, scheduling, overtime, unsafe assignments, overall safety. There's a number of things that can be covered when it comes to what a union is willing to speak about on your behalf. So what are some common myths that we usually hear surrounding unions, things that we talk about? Unions protect bad nurses. That is a myth. If you do anything illegal, unethical, you will be dealt with accordingly. A union cannot protect you and will not protect you in situations like that because that is not what they're there for. You'll just up and lose your job. That is another myth that I hear quite often. Just because you are in a union does not mean that you will lose your job. Like I said, a union is just an organization that is put in place to help you have better working conditions, no matter what that looks like for you. So you won't automatically lose your job. I know for me, where I'm at, we are an at-will state. So if you're going to lose your job, it might not necessarily be for that reason of wanting to be in a union, starting a union, participating in a union. They can probably use that as a reason or an excuse, but they can pretty much fire you for whatever they want or for no reason at all, just because they want to. Hospitals will shut down. Most people, again, associate unions with strikes. I know you guys have seen a lot of hospitals going on strike recently. That is not the case. A hospital can't just shut down. Usually provisions are put in place before people go on strikes. You see a lot of these scab nurses or travel nurses taking assignments and covering these shifts while their primary nurses are out advocating and bargaining for not only themselves, but for their patients. And just so you guys are clear, with unions and unionization, this is not to be seen as, rebellion. It's more so about being represented and being able to collectively come together and ultimately make it a better place for you. How I feel about it, if it's somewhere that I'm going to be working, I would rather be comfortable. And then if I put in the effort, try to make the changes, and try to change things and it doesn't go, then we'll go from there. But definitely something that we all should be working towards. So what makes union talk so scary for some? Several things. Fear of retaliation. Some places put fear in their workers or make, subtle statements basically implying that if these things were to happen or if we talk about them, then these will be the consequences. I was just talking about this not long ago with some of my coworkers. A lot of people come and they tell me things that they want to do. Oh, well, we should join a union. We should start a union. We should go on strike. I kid you not, I've had several people, I can't even count on both hands, come to me telling me just the mere mention of unsafe, the word unsafe, has gotten them pulled into, their director's office or their manager's office, or speaking about unions has gotten them pulled aside. Why do you feel this way? Why do you think we need a union? All those things. It's something that is talked about, but amongst us as peers. It's not talked about with anyone else because that will obviously have people's ears up trying to figure out, okay, that's a problem. If people start sticking up for themselves and speaking up and trying to fight for, what they feel is right or what they feel they deserve, it may cause a problem. And to not cause problems, we are going to make sure that they are fearful and don't even think twice about doing these things. Again, that at-will employment anxiety. Oh my goodness, if I engage in these activities, if I talk about it, if I think about it, I could lose my job at any given moment. So that's why a lot of people really don't bring it up. And it really is so sad to me because people want these things and we want change. And what's even crazier to me is we try to go about it the right way, what we feel is the non-forceful, non-violent way, right? We talk to these organizations, we talk to our leaders, we talk to our higher ups, our executive managers. We tell them what we want. We tell them what we need. We tell them how we feel and how it's affecting us, affecting our work, affecting our patients. And that's all it is. Nothing is being done about it. We're trying to handle this the right way and not go out of our way to create or join this organization to basically put you in a bind and have it be you're either going to give us what we want or you ain't going to have no workers. So that's what's crazy to me. We try to go about things the right way, the mature way, and it just always turns into, nitpicking and politics. Ooh, this is a good one. And I feel like I probably fall under this category. So people are usually fearful because they don't want to be labeled as difficult or a non-team player. I cannot tell you how many times somebody has called me difficult. If you could not tell from my episodes by now or from watching me, hearing me talk, I try not to be difficult, but I'm never not going to speak on something if I feel strongly about it, no matter what it is. In my personal life, in my professional life, that's just never been who I am or what I'm about. So I'm going to always speak on something. And I find that the more that I speak up, even if it's something that's, right or something that someone would deem right, I still end up being the person that's difficult because people just expect you to stick to the status quo, not question anything, and not go against what has already been in place and been done for years and years on end, right? So misinformation, silence. Sometimes we're speaking on it and we're saying things, but the hospitals are trying to control the narrative. Again, that one bad apple, they don't want it to spoil the bunch. They don't want everybody to catch wind to, oh, this is something we could potentially do and do successfully. They want to single people out. They know that in numbers and together, so much more can get done, and they have no choice but to give give the people what they want. If we stick together, there's no way you can go against thousands and thousands of workers, especially when they are the ones running your facilities, taking care of these patients, and ultimately keeping the hospital afloat or whatever corporation organization you're in. Unions are briefly touched on in nursing school, but for the most part, they try not to even talk about it. Again, conditioning. We don't even want to plant that seed and let that grow into something that could cause a revolution on their end, so on our end, but potentially mass chaos on, those higher execs ends or that organization end. Union busting meetings. That's another problem. That's why and how we silence people. We like to disguise it as education. I feel like when things like that are talked about in a hospital setting, we're bringing up all the negative things and how that's not right and why it just wouldn't work. Now, granted, everything has pros and cons, but I'm more than sure if we sat down and go, buck for buck, the good would outweigh the bad. But that's just my personal opinion. So we are in a time which I just briefly talked about this, where we are conditioned. We are conditioned to think about it from the aspect of we are caregivers. We're not troublemakers. If we do this, it will definitely be a problem. Not me. I need you to know that suffering does not equal professionalism. That is why I stand true to what I say, and I always stand on business, even if it means I'm standing alone. But what difference will that make if it's just, one person standing alone, especially if other people feel that way? I find that I have been put in places a lot of times where I feel guilty and I feel bad for wanting better and wanting more. And I feel like a lot of people do. And I feel like that's why more people are getting burnt out more quickly. And that's just not necessarily the case. You should never feel bad for wanting better, especially when it's not just affecting you. If it's affecting other people and you're having these thoughts, I just need you to stop and think for a second. Could somebody else be feeling this way and be thinking the same thing that I'm thinking? For those that's watching, I want to prompt you and ask a few questions. So, what scares you the most about starting a union, looking into unionizing? What questions do you have that is just like, oh, well, I would do this, but this is the aspect that scares me? If you were on the side of wanting to do a union or join a union or start a union, and you are now on the side of not wanting to, or vice versa, what changed your mind about that? What brought about the sudden change or the spark in interest? And then what do you wish people understood more? Collective power does not equal conflict. We don't want conflict. And if I'm being quite honest, our demands, I feel like, are very simple, and they're very the minimum and the least that you organizations can do. The very least. We're being generous, actually. We're being nice with the things that we're asking. So the fact that we could do more and we're not, that should be a sign that we're trying to handle this the best way we know how, and we're trying to collectively not start an uprising. So keep in mind that unionizing is a tool that we can use, but it's not the only tool. So you should obviously look into other methods before you straight up say that you want to be in a union or start a union or join a union. Healthcare cannot run without us workers. That goes for anyone. I know nurses are the ones that are, mostly talking about joining unions and starting unions and striking, but that goes for any healthcare worker. These executives, these CEOs, these managers, all these people, they wouldn't be able to have their jobs and do the things they do without us doing the hard work and the heavy lifting. So I would implore you guys to educate yourself. Educate yourself before you make any decisions. I am not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you to start a union, join a union, go on strike, plan a coup d'etat. Like, that is not what my goal here is today. All I'm saying is just keep in mind that, again, other people may be feeling this way. And for those of you watching that have spoken with me personally, you're telling me these things, but I am just one person. I can advocate for you guys. I can support you guys. I can rally behind you guys, with you guys, all day, up and down, all night. But I can't be the only one that puts those actions into place. I cannot be the only one going to bat for everyone. Like I have touched on and said several times during this episode, it has to be done collectively. It has to be a collective decision, and it has to be something that multiple people do. Because if you look up, the guidelines and things to even create a union, it has to be a majority vote. If not majority, then all. If not all or majority, then it's nothing, and it doesn't go through and the changes aren't made. So I cannot actively come on here and tell you what to do, but just know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or something that you might want to talk about in regards to unions, or if you just feel like you need support, I am here to give you what you need. If you just need a cheerleader to help you make that next step, I'm your girl. I'll help you in whatever way I can. And for those of you who may be on the fence about doing something that you feel is right, that others may feel is right, and that could change, several people's lives, just ask yourself, if you're fearful or hesitant, who is that benefiting? You not speaking up, you not, rallying and saying what you want and really just knowing your worth. Who is that benefiting if you're not making those strides and doing those things? So before we end this episode, because I feel like I've been yappity yapping, it's been so long since I made an episode, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. So I'm just kind of like, bleh. I feel like I've been talking for a long time, but it really hasn't been that long. I just want to read an email that came in from somebody. Where's my phone? I didn't have time to write it out or print it, so I'm going to read it off my phone. Alrighty. Dear That's So RN crew, I live in Tampa, Florida, and I currently work at a HSA hospital. We have had several people stating that they want to go on strike, and some of our facilities are unionized. As a traveler, I hear all the time how people would love to strike so that we can get a higher pay, even going as far as hearing great influencers like Nurse Blake speaking out about how we should start striking in Florida. I am very apprehensive as I am not scheduled or slated for one particular facility and float to several. But everyone is thinking it, and it's got me thinking maybe this is a motion that I should join. What would you do, or what advice would you give in regards to what I should do? Should I join a union, or should I just stand by and mind my business? I know that I will not be the only one affected by my decision, but with the reviews that I've been getting about everything, it is half and half. Though I know that joining a union and starting one so that we are allowed to safely strike would be greatly beneficial to not just myself, but others. Please advise. Firstly, I just want to say the fact that you are in Florida and you even watched one of my episodes and thought to email me, thank you so much. That makes me feel good. Sometimes and I don't even want to say as a small content creator, because I don't do this to be a content creator, but as someone who really just likes to talk and get to know people and make those connections. That makes me feel good that somebody all the way in Florida, even though Florida's not that far from us, is watching me. So firstly, thank you. Secondly, I'm going to be very honest with you. If that was me, I'm going to be standing on big business behind my peers. If y'all want to strike, if y'all want to place y'all demands and say what y'all need and what y'all want, I'm standing behind you 10 toes down. Now, again, I can't tell people what to do, but you're asking me for my opinion. I would totally support that motion. And I think I did see a TikTok where Nurse Blake was like, Florida nurses, it's time to rise up. It's time to start striking. Some of these places are unions already, and they're giving a lot of pushback with nurses wanting to strike. I feel like it's definitely that time. I've been following the strikes in, I believe, Michigan, New York, California, and it has definitely opened my eyes to things that can be getting done, in, my local hospital and just other places. And it also shows me, the community that we have in the healthcare system. So many people that aren't nurses are supporting this motion and wanting better for them. So who's to say we can't do that for physical therapists, for phlebotomists, for respiratory therapists, all those other things. So I say sit down and weigh your pros and your cons. But if it were me, I would definitely be, getting with my peers to see what is the next step and the next course of action that I can take to be able to, get that process started and bargain and get the things that I want. I want a great working environment, especially if I'm going to have to be here for a long time with long hours. I should be able to be comfortable and benefit and not just getting work to the bone for little to no pay, or getting work to the bone and I haven't ate lunch all day, or I haven't been able to stop and use the bathroom and now I'm about to go on myself. Things like that. So I don't have any advice other than, again, do your research, weigh your pros and cons, talk with some of your peers. If you already have a union, figure out what organization it's through, talk to them, and see what you need to do next. That's what I would do if I was you. But that's just me. So, as always, I'm going to go ahead and leave my email down below. You guys can send me questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want. I think I'm actually going to go live on TikTok tonight because I'm not doing anything else. And I have social anxiety, even though it's through a phone and through a camera. But, we're going to give it a shot and do our best. Next episode, we will actually be going more in depth with striking, what that pertains to, why these companies do not want us striking, why it becomes such a problem, and we'll be getting a little bit more into detail about the strikes that are currently going on, strikes that have recently ended, what the outcomes were, and how that could affect other nurses across the U.S. So I am really excited to talk about that. I will get all the details and more for you guys, but I will see you on next week's episode. You guys stay warm if you're somewhere that's cold. We have been having a cold front come through for the rest of these days. I look forward to seeing and or interacting with you guys really soon. Thank you guys. Bye.